Mark, there's been talk of a cover-up, hasn't there, over the past few months since these dreadful attacks last August. Are you seeing any evidence in that statement tonight from Yvette Cooper there was a cover-up of some sort?
Well, the government would absolutely say no. The Crown Prosecution Service and the police say absolutely not. That the reason we couldn't talk about these issues, about the concerns over his violent past and violent behaviour, was because of the need to preserve the integrity of the upcoming court case. But now that court case is not happening because of the guilty pleas, they are free to explore that, to reveal that and to talk about that. But quite separately, of course, to the issue of what we could or couldn't say at that time, there was other issues I think that the authorities will need to answer and answer as a matter of urgency. They haven't done it in any satisfactory way so far, and that relates to the additional charges that Axel Rudikabanu was facing. A terror charge relating to the possession of a PDF document that linked to the Al-Qaeda terrorist group, and also the production of the biological toxin ricin, a quantity of which was found in his house. Now, both the PDF and the ricin were discovered just within a couple of days and confirmed to be the toxin and an Al-Qaeda document within just a few days. Yet we waited for 3 months before we finally got an acknowledgement from Merseyside Police and the CPS, the Crown Prosecution Service, that these charges were now facing Axel Rudikabanu, that he was now facing these 2 additional charges. So these, the reason for that delay will, I think, have to be explained. As yet, as I say, there is no satisfactory explanation as to why we waited 3 long months.
Well, Mark White, thank you for that latest update there on this developing story tonight. Now, joining me live from Washington, D.C., is the leader of Reform UK and the usual presenter of this programme, Nigel Farage. And there he is. Nigel Farage, welcome to Farage, of course. What's your reaction to the news of this public inquiry tonight from the Home Secretary into the Southport murders?
24 hours after the triple murder, when online speculation was going absolutely crazy as to the identity of this individual and what his motivations might be, I posted a video in which I asked the question, was this man known to the authorities? Why are you not telling us the truth? And for that, I was vilified. From senior newspaper publications, broadcasters, politicians, just for asking for the truth. I was apparently somebody who was encouraging rioting. The opposite was the case. The British public can deal with the truth. It's when there's a vacuum that you get a difficult situation. Lord Carlisle, who actually wrote most of the terrorist legislation in our country, said, government, stop hiding behind this contempt of court case. When we saw the London Bridge attacks a few years ago, we knew within an hour that one of the people involved in it was known to the authorities. So what happened here was the Liverpool police covered up the truth. The Home Secretary covered up the truth. The Prime Minister covered up the truth. And we were told in the House of Commons we weren't even allowed to ask a question about this man's identity. Almost as if parliamentary privilege had been stripped away. Go on.
But just very briefly, weren't they trying to protect the legal process by doing that? They wanted to make sure they got to a point where they could then put all out for courts to hear.
No. And this is the point that Lord Carlisle made. Knowing the truth about the identity of who has committed this is not the same as discussing the details of the accusations. Very, very different things. And in the past, we've always had this information. That vacuum led to those riots. And what happens? We get the Prime Minister, the Home Secretary, screaming at the far right, daring not to admit to the public that actually this is a terrorist, motivated, he's watching extreme jihadi videos, and we've been denied the truth. And now the truth comes out, and what happens? Now we're told we're going to have a public inquiry. So please don't say anything in case you prejudice the public inquiry. The Home Secretary, the Prime Minister, Liverpool police are trying to run away from this, and it's just not good enough. This is the most appalling cover-up I think I've ever seen.
OK. Nigel Farage, I must go to why you are where you are in Washington, D.C., of course. Where you watched the inauguration, were you in the room? Were you in the rotunda? Where were you?
No, didn't make the cut, sadly. I mean, I had a good seat, but no, I mean, look, frankly, most of the people in the room were Congress members, Senate members, a few heads of state. So no, I watched it here. I have to say, a very uplifting speech. It's a pity it didn't happen outside, but the weather here is absolutely evil. But what a contrast. All I can tell you is the levels of optimism here, economic optimism, national optimism, the contrast that it marks with the UK is quite extraordinary.
We're just watching footage there while you're speaking to us, Nigel Farage, of a signing ceremony involving the new President, Donald Trump. You can see there's some people there walking. I think he's talking in the background there, the new President. Have you spoken to him recently? Have you been you've been over there? Have you talked to him and wished him well? Has he mentioned his relations with Keir Starmer, for example?
Well, look, I think the truth of it is that the British government has had a reprieve. I think had they signed off the surrender of the sovereignty of the Chagos Islands before the inauguration, I think there would have been no way back, no possible way back for this Labour government. But all I can tell you is over the last few days, talking to incoming cabinet members and others, that there is consternation about Lord Mandelson and what his relationship with the European Union might continue to be, an absolute outrage that the London Labour Mayor, Sir Sadiq Khan, on the eve of inauguration, says that Trump basically marks a return to fascism. This government are getting off to the worst possible start, and it was quite amusing to see today's newspapers, the spin from Starmer, we're negotiating a free trade deal. At the moment, relations between the two, sadly, are icy cold.
I saw Boris Johnson in there in Rotunda. Is he now the person who Trump speaks to more than you?
No, he's a former Prime Minister of the nation, and he's an occasional friend of Donald Trump's. He supports Donald Trump when he's going up, and he doesn't support Donald Trump when he's going down. And I've supported him consistently now for almost a decade.
I know you've offered to help, haven't you, informally, the government through Keir Starmer when you met him in the chamber. I think we saw that on footage. Has he taken up your offer? Are you helping out with any kind of oiling the wheels as the unofficial Trump whisperer for the UK?
No, look, I've said both publicly and privately to senior Labour figures, if they want some help, if I can do that and help build bridges, I will. And as I say, I think had the Chagos deal gone through, that would have been impossible. But that hasn't happened, thank goodness. If they want me to help, I would, but I'm not sure they'll call on me. I think their mindset's completely different. And the opportunity we have with an Anglophile president coming in is just enormous. Can we grab it? Can we hitch ourselves to just a little bit of the optimism that is here in America today? I hope we can, but I somehow rather doubt it.
And so far, the government here hasn't asked you to help at all. Is that right?
That's right. That's right. Yeah, that's right. I mean, it's entirely up to them. It's entirely up to them. But there's a huge prize here.
Yeah, we saw Elon Musk there, but behind the president. Have you patched up your differences with him like you plan to?
Yeah, I've been chatting with Elon over the last couple of days. There's no problem there.
OK. Look, Nigel Farage, thank you for joining us from a freezing cold Washington. We do appreciate it, and we'll see you soon. Now, thank you thank you there, Nigel Farage.